Thank you so much, Joanna. And I hope you can see me and hear me all right. Great. So I'm Nanuka, and I am one of the facilitators for today's onboarding webinar for the publication mentorship program for the first time women authors in the field of HBSR. Thanks again for joining us today, and welcome. And for those who were not able to join the meeting today, join this webinar, we will be recording this session, and then we will share the link accompanied with the brochure specifically crafted around this program to everyone who were not able to join us, but we will also share it with the attendees as well. So if we can move to the next slide, Joanna, we can explain how we will spend together this hour and a half. So this webinar will consist of 4 parts. In the first part, we are going to tell you more about the program. We will inform you about the roles and responsibilities of involved parties. We will introduce program structure and timeline, and we will also inform you and update you about Bogota gathering, which is happening later this year. In the second part of the webinar, we will focus on sharing with you some practical advices and guidance from the Journal Editorial Office. Hello? Yes, please go ahead. Great. So in the third part of the webinar, we will be encouraging you to share one piece of advice to your peer mentors and mentees from your own experience. And you will also have the opportunity to ask questions. Before we wrap up this webinar today, you will have the opportunity to go to Breakout Room and have a 10-minute or maybe less individual introductory meeting with your mentor and mentee. And you're welcome to stay with us in the main room and ask us questions you may have if your mentor or mentee could not make it to the session today. And once you complete this brief catch-up call with your mentor and mentee, please come back to the main room where we will be wrapping up the webinar and updating you about the immediate next steps. So great, Joanna. Yes, thank you. So first of all, let me present the team. So today it will be me presenting the Hsg Secretariat. I will facilitate the discussion and go over a quick introduction with you, where I will also invite my colleagues Aku Kwame from the Alliance for HBSR and Diana Epstein from Health Policy and Planning Journal. Then it will be Joanna Manga from Hsg Secretariat who will lead you through the program structure and timeline. And again, Diana will be back to the microphone to share with you guidance from HPP Editorial Office. And then our guest editors, Trisha Pennycook and Maria Lazo-Porras, will facilitate the discussion around experience sharing. So this is us, the supplement team. I will tell you more about each presenter as I invite them to the microphone, and you have pictures, and hopefully you will see us as we will switch on and off our cameras, and hopefully we will have a lively discussion around experience sharing later on today. And in that sense, please feel free to use chat box to share your comments, reflections, questions, and we will try to monitor it as we go on. And you can easily find this chat function at the very bottom of this control panel. If we can go to the next slide, Joanna, I will brief program participants about the program. Thank you. So the publication mentorship program for the first-time women authors in the field of HBSR was launched 4 years ago in 2018 by the Alliance for Health Policy and Systems Research. And the program aims to connect early career women in LMIC working in health policy and systems research field with mentors who could guide them through the publication process and help authors to convert their work into a publishable manuscript. So following this initial cohort of 10 mentees, the Alliance, Hsg, in partnership with HPP, came together in 2019 to support a second cohort of mentees. And in 2019, we accepted 22 mentees for the program. So to carry on increasing the number of early career women authors from LMIC settings working in the field, Hsg Alliance and HPP teamed up again this year, and we are now hosting the third cohort of mentors and mentees. This 2022-2023 iteration of this program, again, will focus on strengthening the capacity of the first-time women authors. And this time we will have a particular emphasis on Afro-descendant and indigenous researchers based in the Latin American and Caribbean region. And we are very happy that we have participants from this region in this cohort. If we can move to the next slide, Joanna, I will brief participants about us, who we are, the Alliance, Hsg, and Health Policy and Planning. Well, Health Systems Global established 10 years ago as a member-driven global society of researchers, decision makers, and implementers who are dedicated to promoting health policy and systems research and knowledge generation in order to strengthen health systems. Over its 20 years of existence, the Alliance for Health Policy and Systems Research has always held knowledge generation and strengthening capacities to disseminate and use HPSR as a core strategic objective to achieve its mandate of strengthening LMIC health systems through HPSR. And as a constituencies, women and early career researchers have been imperative to both Hsg and the Alliance, and both the Alliance and Hsg demonstrates their commitment to the advancement of individual and institutional capacities for the conduct and uptake of HPSR in their current strategic plans. Moving to the Health Policy and Planning. Health Policy and Planning is a peer-reviewed scientific journal covering the study of health policy and health services. The journal was established in 1986 and is published by the Oxford University Press in association with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. With more than 1,100 papers mentioned by policy sources so far, HPP is increasingly demonstrating its impact on health systems policy at a global level. Thus, it is helping bridge the gap between academic research and its real life application. We very much treasure the partnership we have built between us, specifically around this program. And now allow me to invite my dear colleagues, Aku Kwame and Diana Epstein, to welcome you on board on behalf of the Alliance and Health Policy and Planning. Aku is a health systems researcher from Ghana. She's based in Geneva. Aku leads the Alliance portfolio on systems thinking and capacity strengthening for the conduct of HPSR. Diana Epstein is a managing editor of the Oxford University Press. Diana is now based in Glasgow. Maybe I will first hand over to you, Aku, and then Diana.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Nanuka. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to add our voice to welcoming all of the mentors and mentees to this iteration of the Women's Publication Mentorship Program. I think you said it very well, that you treasure this partnership that we have. And on behalf of the Alliance, I want to also echo that it has been very much a pleasure for us to strengthen the partnership we have with Health Systems Global and with Health Policy and Planning. I also want to say that part of our delight in this program is the opportunity that it gives both to mentors and mentees. And so I want to wish you all a satisfying and a surprising journey, not just professionally, but also personally. And for the mentors who are present here, I think it is wonderful that you are taking out of your very busy schedules to not only give your expertise, but also of yourselves to a new generation of health policy and systems researchers. And for the first time, researchers who are going to be published for the first time, I want to let you know that when we read your abstracts, we were absolutely delighted by the sheer breadth of topics that were being addressed by you. You're dealing with real equity issues, and I think that it's a real enrichment to the field of health policy and systems research, and particularly as you filter those issues through your perspectives as being early career women researchers in your countries. So I want to wish you a fruitful time, and we at the Alliance look very much forward to meeting face to face in Bogota. Thank you, Nanuka, and over to you.
Thanks so much, Aku. Over to you, Diana.
Okay, on behalf of the Editorial Office, we are so looking forward to working with you. As you can imagine, we're always the ones behind the screen and we never seem to meet our authors, and we're so excited about having this opportunity. So I'd like to say on behalf of the Editors-in-Chief, Virginia Wiseman and Sandra Munier-Jack, and also Natasha Salaria from LSHTM, who is our journal coordinator, and myself and Ilana, who is my editorial assistant. We are really looking forward to working with each and every one of you on this supplement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. So from here on, Joanna will take a lead on the session and inform you about the program structure and timeline, which I think you're mostly interested in today. And she will also brief you about the upcoming Bogota gathering. Over to you, Joanna.
Thanks so much, Nanuka. I realized I forgot to introduce myself, so I'm going to do it really briefly, although I think everyone in this room has seen my name pop up on their screen at least once, if not twice, in the past month. So my name is Joanna, and I work for Health Systems Global, and I'm assisting Nanuka with this program. It's my first time, so a lot of learning for me, but it is really, really enriching for me to see the progress and everyone working together. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. So I'm going to go through the roles and responsibilities for mentees, mentors, and everyone else involved. These will all be provided to you, but we think that it was important to start with this and kind of go through what you are going to be doing and experiencing and some details that might be important to stress. Also feel free to ask us questions if some things aren't clear. We can answer them at the end of the presentation or during the Q&A session. So first and foremost, so the mentees, we'd like to remind you that this program is catered to you. So we encourage you to take advantage of it as much as possible. But it also comes with a lot of responsibility because this is your project, it's your paper. So you are assuming full responsibility of the paper development and submission and keeping track of time and deadlines. So that is number one. And I think that everyone is aware of that, but we did want to stress that that is important, that you are spearheading this project and that the mentor is not responsible for writing the paper or directing the paper on your behalf. He or she is really there to support you. The second point is that you should be knowledgeable about the requirements of HPP, whether it's some rules and regulations, and Diana will elaborate on that a little bit later, but we do encourage you to familiarize yourselves with that. Working with the mentor in a very, I'd say, balanced style of communication. We'll touch on that a little bit, but it is important to have a regular communication and like a strong communication canal between you and your mentor, communicating the agenda for different meetings, reaching out to us when necessary, and just really being proactive and intentional about that. So yes, meeting with the mentor regularly and providing updates on your progress. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of advice and constructive criticism that you'll be receiving, and just like being open to receive that in order to make progress on your paper. There are going to be a few deadlines to respect as well. And if you feel as a mentee that there might be some difficulties in respecting those deadlines, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll try to help you along the way. Also, yes, there might be some confidential information exchanged with the mentor or from the mentor, and just we ask you to be mindful of respecting that. And towards the end, we do, well, I mean, throughout the process, we do encourage all mentees to kind of keep track of your progress, whether it's in writing or just like of your experience in general, because we will be receiving or asking for feedback on the general aspect of the program once it ends. So we would love to have feedback of your experience, and even along the way, if you feel like there's something that is not going the way that you would want it to be, we really want you to be transparent with us. And by us, I mean the Secretariat, but also whoever you feel can be a comfortable point of contact for you. And the last point is obviously to timely communicate with the journal. And while you're after the peer review and in different review stages, just to communicate your reception of that feedback and the progress on the paper. So that is for mentees. Moving on to mentors, who have equal, but I'd say maybe even higher responsibilities. So mentors do provide guidance, oversight, and encouragement for the development and timely, a very important keyword, submission to the journal. We have been so impressed by just the diversity of knowledge and capacity of all the mentors. So we do believe that they are quite knowledgeable, but we do really want to stress how important the deadlines are in that sense. We appreciate your contribution, but it is really important to follow through with that process. Once again, establishing regular communication with the mentee and being available for regular meetings with them, or just give us some feedback if for example, you need to be away for an extended amount of time or something like that during the process, just like keep us posted. Again, providing feedback to the mentee, confidentiality, a lot of the responsibilities are kind of the same, but yeah, it's just supporting the mentee during the paper review and commenting and elaboration process, and keep us posted for any other thing. So that is for mentors. Then we have the Hsg Secretariat, who is represented by Nanuka and I today. We are responsible of communication and logistical support. So by logistical support, we mean like if you need like a communication canal, or if you need more resources or more information, Nanuka and I really are the point people for that. And once we get to Bogota, for everyone who will be able to travel there, we will be providing you support in the city as well, and during the capacity strengthening sessions and the supplement launch as well. Now for HPP, they will be providing guidance and resources, so videos, documents, anything that you could need during the onboarding stage, but also the peer review process and along the way. And they will be participating in the supplement launch and dissemination activities. And finally, the guest editors kind of do frame the theme. Well, they've been there from the beginning, really framing the structure of the program, the theme for the journal supplement, and just kind of based on the abstract that we have, what the supplement will look like. They are here for the onboarding, and they have conducted the review in the beginning of your projects, and will be providing that review as we go on throughout the process. And yeah, and on different aspects. And they will also author a guest editorial as part of the supplement and participate in the supplement launch and dissemination activities. So that was it for roles and responsibilities. Now I'm moving on to the timeline. So we are here. So up to yesterday, we were over here, and between today and the very end, it's going to be 19 months. So we'll be communicating for a long time. We're in this together, and I hope that you're excited as I am. So first of all, the matching process kind of ended right before the onboarding webinar. So we matched you based on areas of expertise, and we are now introducing you to each other. Next, this is the onboarding stage. The webinar is what we're doing right now, presenting everything and all of the structures and the details of the program. We'll be sharing some experiences at the end, and you will be receiving advice from us. This is the mentor-mentee agreement. I believe that everyone has received it by now, and I think that the deadline to send it back to us is in 2 days, so June 10th. And that really kickstarts the collaboration between the mentor and the mentee. So we do encourage your collaboration to start from the signature by both of you of this agreement. Then we will move on to the meat, I would say, of this stage, which is the core paper development phase. And that's going to be around 7 months between June and January. And it will be reviewed by the guest editors at the initial stage of development process. And then we will all regroup in Bogota, Colombia to support the paper development. There will be some workshops and some capacity building resources that you will have to have like live feedback from your mentor. And it'll also be a really nice opportunity to meet your mentor face to face if you are able to travel. And you also receive information about what is required to submit to HPP and all of that, and eventually the paper submission. Then we'll move into kind of a dead stage for mentors and mentees, because by then you've submitted your paper and you're waiting, right? So the peer review process will be launched around January and until October. And you will be provided comments on the paper, and we aim to launch the supplement once all of the papers are done and reviewed and ready in November of next year. Then we have the launch. It's going to be accompanied by an advertising campaign, different blog posts, podcasts, we hope, a social media campaign, and just really just selling your projects and the supplement. And finally, we, like I said, really would like to receive learnings from the project, your experience, and please don't hold back when it comes to this phase, because it really helps to build onto for the next generation. So whether it's mentors, mentees, everyone involved, we really want to have as much feedback as we can. So I think that concludes my intervention. I hope everything was clear, and I am going to go into a poll. So I mentioned in the beginning that one of the biggest responsibilities for both mentors and mentees was to communicate regularly. And so for that, we kind of wanted to have an idea of what your mean of communication, or like your preferential mean of communication was. So we're going to launch a poll, but you can also open your mic and participate in the background or in the chat. And it's basically asking you what the most convenient way for you is to communicate with your mentor and mentee. There's multiple answers possible. And then following that, we'll try to set up that communication, or at least assist with this as much as we can. So you should be seeing a poll now, and we're going to give you a little bit of time to answer. So maybe a couple of minutes. Okay, I see someone answered. Is everyone able to see the poll? Okay, I think so. Okay, there's 28 people in here, so I'm assuming 6 of us are from the team, so I'll wait for like 22. I'm gonna give this another 30 seconds. Okay. All right, 10 more seconds. Great. So are you able to see the answers? No?
No, not yet.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
So yes, you're able to see them. So I see that it's mostly email and WhatsApp. So what we are going to do is try to arrange that and encourage perhaps exchanging of WhatsApp between mentors and mentees, kind of offline, and then encourage emails. I see that Microsoft Teams is also an option, so we'll discuss that, but it is very useful for us to know this. So thank you so much, and yeah, welcome aboard and congratulations to everyone. So now actually, no, I'm not done. You're still going to be hearing me for a while. Now I'm moving on to the benefits of being part of the program. If I can just move this poll away from my screen. So one of the benefits is a 2-year Hsg membership, which comes with a lot of perks. You have access to a lot of information, a lot of resources on health policy and health systems research. You will be subscribing to our newsletters, which have a lot of opportunities, webinars, blogs, podcasts, and everything that is in the HBSR space. You have discounted rates for HSR for the next, for the next one at least, I think. And a lot of just networking building opportunities, which I think is really important to take advantage of. Discounts on author processing charges for some journals that are listed here, and many more. And we are also sponsoring you for the HSR 2022 in Bogota, Colombia, whether it's virtual and on-site. So we will be supporting you for registration, travel, and per diem if you need to be, if you will be traveling there, and as well a little acknowledgement on the HSG website. And finally, this is the symposium that we're having this year. The theme of the symposium is Health Systems Performance in the Political Agenda, sharing lessons for current and future global challenges. And the different sub-themes are listed right here. The symposium is being held once again in Bogota, Colombia from October 31st to November 4th of this year. And we really look forward to meeting hopefully most of you there. And that is it for me. I am signing off, and thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Diana now to continue. And hopefully now she is able to control my screen.
And while you are, hi Joanna. So while you are just sharing screen, like screen sharing rights to Diana, I just wanted to briefly add and emphasize the importance of being actively involved in the peer review stage as well for mentors and mentees, because you will be receiving comments and suggestions from the peer reviewers, and it is important to respond to them on a timely manner, and also important to notify your mentors on a timely manner and ask them for the help that you may need to respond to the reviewers' comments. Thanks. Maybe now over to Diana.
Okay.
Diana will share with you some practical advices from the editorial office. Over to you, Diana.
Okay, hello everybody. So welcome to the editorial office. Once you get to the editorial office, you'll actually be submitting the paper online, and either myself or Ilana, who works with me, we will be processing the paper. So what we want to do is to give you some tips and tricks, which we hope maybe you know all of them, or maybe some of them will be new to you. So the first thing is asking, when you've got the paper, what exactly is the editor looking for? You don't want to get a desk reject. You really want to get it through at least to peer review, at least to get it sent to receive comments. So let's see what the editor and reviewers are looking for. So the first thing they're going to be looking for is wow. And that could be in a really snappy title, in a really well-written abstract. Because when we send the paper out, when the section editor sends the paper out for review, what the reviewer will see is the title, and they'll also see the abstract. They will not know who wrote the paper. They will, because we have a double-blinded peer review process. Okay, so if you can maybe think about the title, put some work into it, think about your abstract, get that take-home message into the abstract. The next thing is be careful. It needs to not have been written before. This can be a stumbling block. So some ways is to Google, find other things online and make sure that your paper, and I'm sure the mentors will be able to help with that, it is original. There is something new, because this is really what the editors will be looking for, and the reviewers. Next, think about the relevance to the readership. For instance, if it's very medical, then it wouldn't be really suitable for health policy and planning. But if it would be to do with the economics or the implementation of a specific thing, then that would be of relevance. So be careful and make sure it's relevant to the readership and adapt it accordingly. And the last but not least is language. Please make sure it's clearly written. The journal uses Oxford English, which means we use final I's with an IZE. And please, maybe the mentors, I know earlier, I didn't realize this, that the mentors weren't meant to help so much with the language, but it would be good if maybe they could cast an eye on the language prior to initial submission. Okay, so here are some additional wee tips and tricks, as I sort of mentioned. On the title especially, include the name of the country or the region. So if, for instance, it's a paper about Chile, so say this is a paper based, whatever it is, and mention the name of the country, because that is a really important thing. Editors like that. They like to know where the country is from, and they like to be able to see it on submission and not have to search for it in the abstract. Do not use any abbreviations, okay? This is very, very important. And make it sound exciting. And maybe, if possible, place part of a very abbreviated take-home message in the title, because that will entice the editor and the reviewers to carry on reading. Now, we are a double-blinded journal, so we need to have a separate title page, okay? So do not place your names or your institute names or any acknowledgements or conflicts of interest or your author names or initials or anything into the main document. Any of these details should only be placed on the title page. Again, we want to avoid returning papers to you for format corrections. And this is one of the biggest reasons that we have to return papers for format corrections, is usually because authors write their names all over the paper, which is quite upsetting. Oops, I'm lost. Just a minute. Okay, we now have what's called, let me just check, a reflexivity statement. This is relatively new. Okay, this has just happened about 2 months ago, so you may not be aware of this. So the reflexivity statement, it just should reflect on your author group, okay? It's just about your gender, your seniority, the regional location, etc. So I've placed 2 examples. You are welcome to use this. This should be placed on the title page. So here we have, like, the authors include 2 females. If I wrote a paper with Nanuka, for instance, I would say the author include 2 females, and we have multiple levels of seniority, with one of the authors specializing in manuscript publication and the other author specializing in Hsg Secretariat. So, just, you can use these 2 examples and just change them as required. And should I get better examples, I will send them to Nanuka, who can then forward them among everybody. But these are the examples we have at the moment, because at the moment it's so new. And I do believe an editorial is following soon in the journal, explaining all about this reflexivity statement. But this needs to be on submission on the title page. Again, we have this author contribution statement. We have had it for about a year now. We just ask you to also place it on the title page. Now, you don't need to write all the names of all the authors. Just beside each part, you can even just write your initials. That's enough, okay? So the title page, you can go in there, instructions for authors, there's a whole list of what you need to put on the title page. But it's just that these two parts are relatively new for the journal. So we do kindly ask you, just on submission, if you have all the title page all correct, and if you aren't sure, please email the editorial office. We don't bite, we're very friendly. We'll be very, very happy to answer any of your questions, what you should do, what you should put. The mentors can contact us, the mentees can contact us. We don't mind responding to emails. It's much easier if you contact us before, and even if you want us just to check the title page, we'll tell you what's missing. So when you actually get to the submission online, we can send it straight off to the editor without a back and forth. If you are submitting a review, we kindly ask you to use the Prisma checklist and upload it as a supplementary file. Every paper which is a literature, systematic or scoping review is reviewed by 3 external reviewers. One of the reviewers will be a systematic reviewer who specializes in reviews, plus 2 external reviews. And sometimes it may take a bit longer, perhaps a week, just to get these papers reviewed. But if you are thinking of submitting any type of review article, we're very happy, please do so. But please make sure that you fill in the Prisma checklist as required. And we also have an explanation on the actual web submission. When you're submitting, you can also fill that in. And that's me finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Diana. That was really useful and practical. Well, maybe before we move to the next part of our webinar, I will stop here and ask attendees if you have questions to Diana. Please raise your hands and we can invite you to the mic, or you can also use chat box and we will invite you to the microphone once we receive questions from you. Okay, I don't see any hands raised yet. So, and minding the time, I will then invite Tricia and Maria to help us facilitate the discussion around experience sharing, followed by a Q&A session. Tricia, Maria, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome again, everybody, and thank you for all of those who have spoken already and introduced us to what we are going to do and how we're going to do it, hoping that we can all be successful and timely in this endeavor. So this is the part where we are offering an opportunity to share the greatest piece of advice. If you could have one piece of advice that you would like to share with peer mentors or peer mentees, this is the opportunity to do that. So I was writing names down as Johanna was having us introduce ourselves. And I'm happy to see everyone on screen as well. So what I would like to do first is ask if there is any mentor who would like to be the first one to volunteer one piece of advice to help all of our mentees be successful in this process. If there aren't any volunteers, then I'm gonna call on names. Anne-Marie?
I can volunteer. Hi,
yes,
everyone.
Thank you.
So I've been reading a lot about productivity, and oftentimes we get like we want to work on our papers. We're motivated. We have the data, but the only thing is that just life gets in the way, just like the daily tasks of like the routine, the bureaucracy, everything. And so even though we have like all this motivation, sometimes it's actually hard to really sit down and do it. And so I've been reading a lot about productivity and how to make sure that we're able to move ahead with our publications. And the best trick that I found is really to try to sit down and work on our paper 2 hours a day. If you can just sit down and work on it 2 hours a day, at least every day, at least you'll keep going little by little. And so, I guess my advice is not to wait to have a big chunk of time, a full day. Nobody will never get a full day to work on our papers. So, but what's important is to just keep working on it every day, a little bit, even sometimes, if it's not even possible to do 2 hours, at least 1 hour a day, to just make sure we keep opening that document and we keep remembering. That's my advice.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. I see Sally's hand up.
Thank you. That's great advice, Anne-Marie. My advice is to find a paper or more than one paper in health policy and planning that uses similar methods to the ones that you are using, and look at that paper with a real structure hat on. How much text and paragraphs are there in the introduction, in the methods? How have they organized their results? How have they organized the discussion? If you think that that paper has successfully passed through all the peer review process that Diana outlined, so it's an example of the type of structure and weighting that makes sense to give to the different sections. And also see if you can see what the key message is for that paper. It's normally in the abstract, and how that key message is reiterated and in which different parts of the paper. So use those papers, one or more, as a way to help you think about and be inspired about what you're going to put in yours and how you're going to structure it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Great advice.
Thank you, Sally. Emma, I think that you go next.
Sure, thanks. I had two quick things, and I think one echoes Sally's quite a bit, which is to say, I think I always think of it as trying to take the big picture, right? To step back and say, what is the main story or argument or thesis statement that I want to communicate? So I think that's quite similar to the idea about key messages. But it can be very hard when you've done the research yourself to say, I want to share every detail about it. I want to make sure that they understand sort of everything, right? And to keep in mind, this is different than a thesis, right? It's a paper for a global audience. So what is sort of the very high level message that you want to communicate clearly, maybe to people who don't even work in exactly the same area. And I think the second one is less of a technical point, but I often say to students sort of not to take any of the feedback personally. It's you get feedback from anonymous reviewers. They don't know you. They don't know how hard you've worked on it. They're really just giving kind of technical feedback on the paper, and so the opportunity to use it to improve the paper should be taken kind of as a learning opportunity, and just to know that any one of us who's published a paper, not only have we had many papers declined from publication in journals, but that many papers have gone through many revisions. And so keeping a very positive attitude and knowing that if they like the paper enough to give detailed feedback, that's actually a very good sign that they read it and they're interested to read a revision. So hopefully that helps. Thanks.
Thank you, Emma. Devaki, please.
Sorry, forgot to unmute myself there. I think, Tejiwe, you actually have a question about how long it takes to get a response from the reviewers after submission. This sort of varies from journal to journal. I've had submissions actually to HPP that have come back within about 2 months or so, and then I've had it take over a year and have withdrawn a paper from HPP. So it sort of depends. I think this will be given, our work will be given priority. So I think it may be, I'd request others to just weigh in on that and confirm. But on to some of the advice, I think as having done this, I was a mentor last time around, and it really helped to have some parked spaces of time for us to touch base regularly. even on a WhatsApp call or on a Teams call or something like that, it helped with accountability on both sides. And connected to that were interim deadlines. Even if the work is crappy and you don't feel great about it, just requiring yourself to put something down gives a frame of reference to discuss even with your mentor. And I think Emma got at this a little bit. We all go through this journey in writing papers where we realize there's a whole bunch of stuff we have to take out and stuff that probably needs to be in a separate paper or something like that. So carving some of those boundary conditions around your paper is very useful. With my mentee, actually, last time we did that, and we now have 2 papers published based on 2 separate analyses that she wanted to do. So that was very exciting. This time is really a gift to yourself. So do try to like enjoy that gift and the fact that you have this sort of prestigious thing. So, you know, in terms of giving it this time and really taking advantage of the access you have to a mentor and even to all the other great resources here is something you should bear in mind. And I think one thing for me, we just, as a mentor-mentee pair, we just got really interested in the topic. And we actually got rejected from HPP, but we published both papers somewhere else. So I think the other thing to think about is that, you know, failure is just part of your journey towards success. So it's really not that big a deal. And as others have also said, you know, you probably will find something to improve on and something to get better at through these kinds of processes. So yeah, those are my bits of input.
Thank you, Devaki. I think part of the beauty of this process is exactly this. A lot of us did not get this as we were going through our journey, and to have the opportunity not just to hear from your mentor, but from all the mentors, it's really useful, and we really appreciate it. Sarah, your hand is up. Would you please go next?
Thank you. Yes, well, I think that my first advice is that you need to keep the fun alive. I mean, this will require a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of dedication, but you need to keep that flame alive. Why you want to publish? Why do you want to share your work? This is what will you keep on the road. That's very important for me. And the second one, I will say that know the journal you're going to submit your paper. I mean, you need to read the journal you're going to submit your paper to know who's going to be your audience. That's key for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I see Ariel is next.
Thank you, Tricia. Well, I want to share some advices. Try to read 3 to 5 papers from the same journal. If possible, if desirable, 5 papers from the same topic. If there are no that amount of papers of the same topic, read other papers of other topics, but from the same journal, you know. See how those papers were structured, what are the key messages the authors are sharing, see how the main findings are linked to health policies. You know, this is a journal for health policies, so the key findings must be linked to health policies.
Thank you so much, Ariel. I think a common theme here is reading. So not only reading about your paper, but reading in the journal, reading other papers to be able to find structure, familiarize yourself with the audience. It's a common theme in the advice that we have heard so far. I do not see any more hands. I'm wondering
I wasn't able to put up my hand. I'm not sure why.
Okay, Carrie, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think the 2 things that have helped me is I was encouraged to like explain my paper to a person totally outside our field, like you know, family member or friend who is, you know, intelligent and interested, but not in our world and doesn't use our jargon. And so sometimes when you get into a hard paragraph, you got to ask yourself, like, what am I trying to say here? And how would I just say this to somebody completely outside our field? And it can kind of get you out to that core message that, you know, Sally and others have mentioned. So that was really helpful for me trying to muddle through papers, is just talk them out with somebody completely non-health systemsy. And then the other thing that's helped me is somebody has kind of framed writing as the stages of grief, where there's like denial and like anger and eventually acceptance. And it's been really useful to realize that like no one finds this easy. Even people who've got like a million things published, it's hard. And it's sort of like a whole journey of a roller coaster. So just know that like you're not alone. It's not easy for anyone, but it does get there eventually.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Stages of grief, I'd never heard that before, but it sort of fits. Some of us have been in denial for 30 years. I see Robin's hand.
Yes, it's 11:30 at night here, so I have very practical advice. What I say to my students, they always have very ambitious goals for writing for the week. And what I'd like you to do is review those goals that you set yourself on the Friday and realistically say to yourself, for those 2 hours, was I really writing? How many times did I go get coffee? Did my kids interrupt me? Did I look at things on the internet more interesting? And maybe and then review these and see what's more realistic for you. So you might find snack writing better, like 35 minutes, or what I do, because I have to get up all the time, 25 minutes, I just say I'm going to write, even if it's rubbish, I just write it and then I review it. And sometimes I have to do that with my students 4 to 5 weeks, just to set and see what's good for you. So there's many different techniques that people can give you about how to write and how to revise. And, you know, particularly when you're getting to that stage of peer review and looking at it, you might want to look at what they're saying. You're so sick of this paper, you want to throw it. But, you know, just set some goals and see what's right for you, and really give yourself the space. And I know for women, it's almost with COVID, it's not work-life balance anymore, it's work-life integration. So a lot of you will be working at home and trying to do this with other things going on. So maybe let your family know you have this if you have kids or family or partner, this is an important thing for you. And maybe it's getting up early and giving yourself that space, or giving up something else that you do for others to make this time for yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, Robin. Maria?
Yeah, thank you everybody for all your suggestions. I don't know, Joanna, if we have time for someone else or maybe mentees to say something else.
So the only thing that's left for us to present is our next steps and the contact list. So we have that, and then we have the breakout room. So we still have 20 minutes. So I think we have time still. If mentees do want to intervene, we have a bit of time.
Okay, so maybe now we can invite mentees to say something, maybe a previous experience, good or bad, what helped them when they have to write, for example, the experience to write the abstract or something like that.
Anne-Marie, is that your hand trying to speak, or is it just, okay, seems like no. This is a chance for you to ask questions to all the mentors that are here. This is probably not going to happen very often, so it's a really good opportunity to pick the brains of those that have been down this road before. If you have any questions, you could place them in the chat if you do not want to come on camera. Okay, so maybe I'll ask a question for the mentors and while you think about it. Okay, I saw a hand. Is this Gloria?
Gloria.
Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gloria.
Hi, so first of all, thank you for this opportunity. And thank you to be part of this community, to know more people, to network with more people. And this is more on a clarification side. First of all, thank you for all the advices from all the mentors. And yeah, so coming to the question that I have, this is something more on a administrative part of registration. So I was actually like one of my abstracts got selected for the poster presentation at Hsg. And for that, I'm required to register by June 20th, I suppose. So what is the procedure to go ahead with that? So that is what the kind of confusion I was in.
Thank you, Gloria, for asking that question. I will take that question, Tricia.
Yes.
So we've been provided with this list, Gloria, so we are aware of that fact. So we will be discussing this with the Scholarship Committee of the HSR 2022. And I think we will be getting back to you over email in the coming days, but definitely before the June 20th deadline. Great.
Let me ask the mentors, once you receive the review, how closely do you have to follow suggestions from reviewers? Any mentor who would like to address that?
I can.
Yes.
You can politely tell them they're wrong sometimes, because sometimes reviewers don't get everything right. Particularly sometimes you might have two reviewers that say completely opposite things, or they haven't read your paper completely. So, get advice from your mentor or your fellow authors about that, but you don't have to follow everything they say. There might be some, particularly in this area of research, there might be some philosophical or methodological difference that you can strongly argue against.
Thank you, Robin. I see Emma and Sarah also have a response. Emma?
Yeah, I agree with Robin. I think that the first thing is to cool off, relax and think, what can I learn from this? And after that, read all the comments. And yes, sometimes those are really good comments, points that you didn't saw, and you are willing to respond to that, but others doesn't make sense. I think that the point is done to that your paper doesn't become a Frankenstein paper, that is like very strange because you try to respond to the reviewer, but that doesn't make sense. So that becomes like a Frankenstein paper, I will say.
Thank you, Sarah. Emma, and then Diana.
Yeah, very similarly, just to say that when you prepare a response, you respond to each of the comments, but it doesn't always mean you have to make all of the changes. And I think all of us who have been reviewers and editors can also say, we appreciate when authors are thoughtful about it. So if they explain their justification, in a clear way, I think that usually works. Sometimes it's a clarification, or sometimes it's just, viewing something from a different lens or something. But I think just, the point is you respond to each of the comments. That doesn't mean pages and pages for each comment, but to write at least a few sentences to say, our authorship team thought about it. We're not dismissing it. And then either decided to make a change in the paper or not, but just to give a reason.
Thank you, Emma. Diana?
In the unlikely event that there will be a conflict of opinion between two reviewers, I would assume that the section editor or the editor-in-chief on our side will probably advise you how to respond. But if you aren't sure and you get the comments and you aren't sure, please email the editorial office and don't worry too much. And then we will check this on our side and we will get back to you ASAP. Because when you're doing the revision, if it's a minor revision, you only have 4 weeks. If it's a major revision, you would have 8 weeks, but you won't have 8 weeks because this is a supplement and we've got a time schedule. So you're not going to, you'll have to be very quick with the revision. So we'll have to be very quick in answering any of your questions. So again, please always email the editorial office. We're so happy to help you. We're so excited about the supplement. If there's any questions at all, even something that you think isn't so important, send us an email. We'll check. We'll get back to you very quickly. So even if in the whatever your night is, we start at 8 in the morning to work, we'll get back to you very, very quickly with responses.
Thank you so much, Diana. See, that's very practical advice. Maria?
Yeah, I have these questions, especially for mentors that are not English native speakers, and it's how do you manage this problem with express your ideas in other language, you know, and what advice you have for mentees that have this situation? I don't know, maybe Sarah, Ariel.
Well, yes. Well, I think that I'm not a native speaker. I commit a lot of grammar mistakes, so I cannot submit a paper 100% in English, but I write in English and I read a lot in English. I think that those are two of the things that you have to do in order to improve your skills. And in the last times, I have been partnering with people that is native speaker of English in other countries and include them in my team. So we can collaborate. That has been much better than translate. Translation has been not successful. I mean, when you ask to a translator, that really doesn't work. So I think that partnership and these global partnerships has been really helpful for me. That's what I have done.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you to all the mentors who provided advice and to all the mentees who participated listening and taking notes. If you have other questions, I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to address them via email. We have had the invitation from Diana to be able to address the editorial office as often as is necessary to be successful. So we will move on to the next part of our meeting today. Nanuka.
Many thanks, Tricia and Maria, for facilitating this discussion, and also many thanks to the mentors for sharing their experiences. I really echo what Aku said in the chat, that it is great to have this collective advice from everyone at this initial stage. I will now hand over to Joanna. Joanna, it's up to you to decide whether we brief the audience about immediate next steps or we let them go to the breakout rooms, and then once they come back, we will wrap up. Over to you.
I think I'd go into next step just in case some people have to leave early, because we only have 13 minutes left. So just really quickly, in the next few days, you will be receiving a follow-up survey of the onboarding webinar. We would really, 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 really appreciate if you could complete and send it back to us. It's going to be useful for us in the next iterations of the program, and just for us to know how it was experienced by you. You'll also be receiving the recording of the onboarding webinar, as well as a brochure. Well, the brochure isn't really the right word, but just like a PDF document that encompasses everything that we've discussed and some of the points that we mentioned. We are also, and this is after we received the signed agreement, would like to request to you and both mentors and mentees to send a picture and just approve bios. And this is mainly for communications. We'll be announcing the launch of the mentorship program this month. And so we'd like to have the communications package to do that. So you will be hearing from me through email in a few days. Also, what we expect from you in the next few days are the signed agreement, but also the pictures and bios probably next week. And just at the end of the page, a reminder of the deadline. So June 10th for the agreement, June 17th for the survey, as well as the pictures and the bios. So thank you so much. That is it for me. And I think, yeah, I can let Nanuka cover this one.
Thank you, Joanna. So we just thought it would be useful if we put together your key points of contact from the Hsg Secretariat, from Health Policy and Planning, and contact details of our guest editors as well. So you will be receiving this onboarding slide deck, and we will also include this contact details in the PDF document that Joanna has just mentioned. Great. I think now we can invite mentors and mentees to the breakout rooms.
Yes, I will just be setting them up. I understand that not all mentors have their mentee, or sometimes it's the other way around. So we invite the ones who don't have their pair to stay in the main room if you wish to discuss a bit more. So I'll be creating them now.